What's up YouTube, Mike here with PeoplesChoiceGaming, and I wanted to do a quick first look review of the new Secondary Weapons the Castanas. Now I wanted to show you really quickly the color customization because some people do care about that with their weapons, and luckily you are able to customize these weapons really well. Changing all the different colors will show really nicely on these weapons, so that's pretty cool. And before I get into some gameplay and go over the weapons, we'll go over the stats real quick. You're going to be working with 2 V polarities starting off, just like the Despair for your build. And then you're going to be having a 5.5 fire rate, a little bit faster than Despair, you know, a little slow, but not too bad. You're only going to have 2 in the clip, unfortunately, and then a 1-second reload speed. And then you're going to be doing 100 electric base damage, which is really, really high. And as for your status, not too high. So, not really going to be worrying about status with these weapons. You're only going to have a 10% status on these weapons. Now, when I first looked at these weapons, I thought, you know, they kind of look like the Despair. I do know they detonate like the Penta or the Stug, you know, when you right-click. And I was hoping they weren't just going to have that ability, but you were also going to be able to do damage from hitting the enemies with these weapons. However, you do not do any damage from hitting enemies just impact-wise with the weapons. You only get damage from when you detonate these weapons on the enemies, you know, if they're in the explosion radius. Basically, the way the weapons work is you can throw out up to 2, and then you got to reload, and you can throw out a total of 6, and then you have to detonate before you can throw any more. And you throw the weapons at the enemies basically, and then they stick to the enemies, and as they travel through the air they're closed up, and then when they stick into the enemies they open up like a tripod, triangle sort of shape, and electric will be traveling from each point, which is pretty cool looking. And they'll just be kind of stuck onto the enemy. And then whenever you right click, you know, use your zoom button, you'll detonate these weapons. And they have about a 5 meters AoE radius, and it's a pretty nice 5 meters bubble, so you can throw these weapons and they'll stick to the walls or the ground or wherever, and as long as the enemies are within that about 5 meter range, they'll take a pretty good bit of damage. And it's pretty nice because you can even throw, you know, 1 or 2 on a 1 enemy, and as long as, you know, they're near any other enemies, they will kill those enemies. And I seem to get pretty good damage, you know, even if the enemies were a few meters away from the 1 enemy that I threw them onto, which was pretty nice. Now, what I can tell you with these weapons is, without even leveling them up, I know this for sure, they aren't going to have near the DPS a lot of other weapons have, especially on lower level enemies, because you can only throw 2 and the fire rate's just too low, and you have to detonate them to do any damage. However, understand this, you're working with 100 electric base damage. First off, electric base damage is awesome because you can make radiation, corrosive, or magnetic, which is all the best elemental combos to go with. And think of the Despair. They have about half the base damage these weapons have, and with a fully modded build, you can 1- and 2-shot some very high level enemies, and these weapons have twice the base damage. So even though the DPS isn't going to be anywhere near a lot of other weapons, you are going to be able to take out some very, very high level enemies with a fully modded build upon detonation. I can already tell that. Will people really like these weapons, considering, you know, the slower fire rate and only being able to throw a couple and then having to reload and not being able to do damage until detonation? You know, we'll have to see. But I wanted to at least get a nice first look out for you guys, a good few minutes long, so that you could really see how the weapons work. And I'm going to try out a few different builds, like fast reload, adding some more magazine size maybe, and just getting, you know, some really nice damage on there, and see how these weapons really stand up against some of the higher level enemies. I already know the DPSs are going to be there, but will you be able to hold your own with these weapons against groups of enemies? And I already know you'll be able to hold your own against high level enemies, but will you be able to do a quick enough DPS? Because we all know, even with ridiculous high damage, if you can't kill quick enough, it's still a problem. That's just how it goes, basically. So these weapons seem to be pretty fun. They're really cool looking. I like how they work. I think they would be really awesome if they actually did damage upon impact. But, you know, I still think they could be pretty decent. So it'll be up for you guys to decide. So please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. I'll see you guys soon with a level 30 build and a full guide to modding. And, yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.